What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ryan Turbo Jackson. I do have on the phone my co-host, Kyle 2K's Kaler, and you have found the Turbo and 2K show. And we give you our amateur opinion on everything sports. And if you're a fan of the show, you're realizing that you're just seeing my mug. You're not seeing 2K's, you're just seeing my mug. But don't worry, I got 2K's on the phone. What's up, brother?
What up? How's it going?
Well, everything is everything, my friend. Had a lovely Sunday dinner with the fam, of course. But other than that, I mean, it's been quite the odd Sunday. Quite the odd Sunday so far. I mean, the Lions actually won, so that was weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a Lions fan, I'm sure you're fucking stoked that they had a big lead, blew it, and they actually came back and won. So pretty awesome there, and it's there was some records that Stafford set today or tied, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, and the shining hope for the Lions is that you're seeing Mr. Swift be more a part of the offense, and I don't know why it took him so fucking long to get him involved because that kid's a fucking stud. What do you think, 2Ks?
Yeah, he is. I look back at obviously for all Lions fans, it probably none of them have forgot that Week 1 dropped pass, where Stafford let him down the field, and obviously should have won that game. It was a perfectly thrown ball. I mean, you can't ask for a better pass, and unfortunately, the kid playing in his first ever career NFL game, and he makes that drop. But really, since that moment, I think a lot of people kind of thought that was going to be Adrian Peterson's job, especially after the first couple weeks of the season. But for the last, at least getting into the second half of the season, I think there's no question who the best running back is.
Oh, by far. And it's if you're a Lions fan and you thought that you thought Adrian Peterson was going to be the go-to end-all at this stage in his career, I think you're fucking silly. But before we get to any further in this, there's something that's near and dear to both mine and your hearts, 2Ks, and that is the Marcellus Wildcat football team. Unfortunately, their playoff run came to an end, but gentlemen, congratulations. You made it further than any other Marcellus high school football team, so big credit to you guys. You guys played a hell of a season. Yes, it didn't end up where you guys wanted it to be, but mind you, we as a community and from the Turbo and 2K show, we're fucking proud of you. You're proud of you, gentlemen. Not only you, but the coaching staff, the family, the community. We all got behind this team, so kudos to you. And again, 2K's first ever 8-man football team. So going into it, didn't really know what to expect. However, these gentlemen showed up and played out and balled out and made this whole community proud of them. So, again, gentlemen,
absolutely,
congratulations. We give our deepest congratulations from the Turbo and 2K show. So,
yeah, absolutely. And then just to kind of piggyback off of that, like you said, this is our first year ever playing in an 8-man. Obviously, it's a huge difference from 11-man and the transition that you have to make into that.
Sure.
And they started it right up, and obviously the off season was a little bit different too than most off seasons because of the whole COVID situation. So, they didn't have as much time together to work on all that. So and make all those adjustments. So no, I'm very proud of that team. Actually, this last few weeks it's been very fun watching them on the YouTube channels and watching the run that they went on, and unfortunately, there's nothing really to hang their heads about losing to Martin there a night ago. I mean, that was a very good football team, and also a program that's been playing for multiple years in 8-man. So, they're probably a little bit ahead of the 8-ball as far as the experience that they have in 8-man.
And I was just going to give a big shout out to the Martin squad as well because they played one hell of a game as well. So. Mm-hmm. Gentlemen, for the non-seniors, there's always next year, and hell, it's one year under the belt for the underclassmen as well as the coaching staff, so they might have a little bit better, and hopefully next year they'll have, like you said, a little bit more traditional training and stuff like that to get going. So,
yep.
But like the thumbnail says, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing our Masters recap, and it's weird doing anything golf in November. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
especially the Masters.
yeah, I was talking to in my office here. I had the Masters on Thursday and Friday, and I was kind of explaining to Kristen, my girlfriend, that normally this is played in April, and it's kind of as a sports fan, it's one of those things that kind of signals the beginning of sports. The beginning of the year, usually the Masters is like, all right, now that this is when the weather starts to get nice. We've got baseball coming up. We've got more golf coming up. Excuse me. So to me, it's one of those things in my mind that signals. I mean, my dog Layla agrees as well. But it's one of those things where it signals spring. So spring training has been in effect. Usually that's right around the time that the regular baseball season starts. But this year it's November, and I'm pretty sure all of us were kind of wondering, all right, well, how is the weather going to how's it going to affect play? How is it going to what's the scores? What's the course going to be like? What are the scores going to be like? And I think that obviously Dustin Johnson had no fucking problem
No.
with and I mean, looking at the course, it didn't look any different than what it did in past years. So, and when you sit down and think about it, I mean, there's even here in Michigan, the weather is usually pretty similar as far as April compared to November. It's chilly. One's obviously going from cold to warm. This, November is going from warm to cold. So I'm pretty sure that was a question that all of us golf fans in particular were looking for. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching us live, go ahead and drop a comment. Go ahead and give us a sub, a like. And if you're new to the show, go ahead and type new and where you're from, and I'd love to hear from you. And I do see that we do have about 4 viewers right now, and I can see you, so you might as well chat with us. Give us your thoughts on the Masters. How did your favorite golfer finish? What did you think of the course, and how did you think the change from the April start to November start? Give us your drop some knowledge bombs on us. But 2Ks, what was your overall take of the tournament? All 4 days, the November start. Just kind of give me your initial thoughts compared to how everything wrapped up.
My first thought on it was I'm just glad that the tournament happened. You look back at in April when it was supposed to happen, and kind of, I mean, there was just a lot of questions all around sports world in general. I mean, were we going to have baseball season? Were we going to have? I mean, was golf even going to be a thing? Was the NBA going to be able to finish their season? Were we going to be fortunate enough to have college football in the NFL season? And I mean, really, all the sports have came together and made things work, and including golf. And by pushing this, this is probably the biggest golf tournament. I'm pretty sure that for these professional golfers, winning a green jacket is probably tops on the list of any accomplishment that there is in the PGA. So for them to be able to just pull this tournament off and still have it, and really they made the decision right off the bat that we're not going to try to do it in April, we're not going to try to do it in May, we're just going to do it in November, and they made that decision clear, and it really gave us something to look forward to. And as far as the course conditions and the weather and everything, there really was, to me, that I didn't see any difference with it. The course was beautiful as ever. Maybe the only thing that I would have noticed in as far as in the conditions of playing in November, maybe the course was playing a little bit softer, and that could have led to some of the lower scores that we did see, especially in the first couple days. I think the course did start to firm up there and going into Saturday and Sunday, and I think that the scores kind of reflected that.
Yeah, to me, I'm not. I love to play golf. I'm a horrible golfer, but the Masters to me is my favorite tournament of the year. I can actually sit and watch the Masters, and I think one of the things that is that is unique to the Masters is like I said, it gets your heart pumping for summer, and that's kind of the one of the kickoffs to summer. But on a completely different level, it's the only tournament that's at the same spot every year. And
Mhm.
in years past, you have the par three challenge, and there's so many other things that are involved in the Masters that no other tournament has. So to me, I enjoy the Masters more just because, like I said, there's more. I guess you would call it. I know what to expect. I've seen the courts many times, and I like the things surround the activities surrounding the Masters. So to me, it does kind of hold a. I'm not gonna say a soft spot by any means, but it is my favorite tournament, and but yeah, my first initial thoughts were I couldn't tell the difference between August or in April and November.
Mhm.
It looked the same. Obviously,
Mhm.
I mean, there was no fans this year, of course, but the courts look the same. I mean, now when you're playing in Michigan here at the public courses, if you're playing in November, there's a lot of times you can hit your ball right down in the middle of the fairway and lose it in leaves. And obviously at Augusta there were, I mean, the trees didn't even look like they had they had lost any leaves. So
No,
I don't know if it's
and, and
different type of
and
trees and shit
they
down there or what.
yeah, and they even showed kind of the average temperatures of April when the tournament is normally played, and then the average temperatures in the middle of November where we are now, and really there's no difference. I mean, it might be the difference of 3 or 4 degrees. So you
Yeah,
just don't have the temperature shifts like what we have here in the Midwest,
of course, of course.
down in Georgia. So it's just there really wasn't really any difference at all. And if there was going to be a tournament that obviously you could transition from April to November, this is the one. So it worked out perfectly.
And to kind of refresh everything, Bryson DeChambeau is the odds-on favorite to win it. He didn't really play well right out the gate. I want to
No.
say it was Friday. Kind of the wheels kind of fell off a little bit for him. Tiger
Oh yeah.
started. Tiger started 4 under on Thursday, and then I think played par golf the rest of the time, and I think he ended up at 1 under, and that's with today. He decided to put 3 balls in the drink on 12 and recorded his highest score in his career, a 10. And yeah, like I said, he ended up carding a 1 under. But that's been Tiger's big deal is getting off to very slow starts.
Mm.
And the 4 under on day one. I mean, that was a great start. And I think a lot of obviously DJ wasn't phased by it by any means, but I think some of the players might have been thrown off a little bit with some of the weather delays and having to be called off the course for darkness and stuff like that. So
Mm.
maybe that
Mm.
played a little bit into it, but I don't know. But like I said, Dustin Johnson had no problem with it whatsoever.
Yeah, I think a little bit of it, players, maybe be getting a little bit frazzled in it is just because of the scores that Dustin Johnson is throwing. I mean, when he just keeps on, playing the type of golf that he is, he hits the ball so long that you basically got to draw up, give him a birdie every single par five that he plays on. I mean, just how far you can hit the ball is a huge advantage for him.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah,
but
this is one of those courses that is kind of tailored to his swing and his game. And this was his first Masters victory, correct? His second major. Am I right? I think that sounds right.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and like we said, for someone that hits it really long, DeChambeau just crushes that fucking ball. My dear
Oh
lord.
yeah.
He
He just
his drives look like he's doing a longest drive contest. I mean, I've never seen anyone put their body into a swing more and just have a more like vicious swing than he.
mm,
I mean, it looks like he's trying to win a long drive contest. To be honest with you,
mm.
but But
Yeah,
yeah,
the thing with DeChambeau is just I think he's still kind of just doesn't have a whole lot of experience under his belt, and we kind of were able to see that firsthand on Friday. Obviously, things weren't going well for him, and he wasn't, making putts. He wasn't making good iron shots. Maybe wasn't finding the fairway with his long drives, like he would have liked, and it just kind of reflected as it went. His game just kept on going. And his head wasn't there, and you could and in all honesty, if it wasn't for darkness playing a factor there and making them stop their round, I think it was on hole 11. He was probably going to be in contention of not even making the cut.
oh, you're
But I think
100%
that
right. 100%
yeah, I
right.
think that ending Friday early, and then obviously giving him the night to kind of regroup and get his shit together, he ended up coming back Saturday and doing just enough to make the cut.
Yeah, and it's I'm sure there's other people out there too that I'm a huge Tiger fan. Every tournament I pull for him, and golf is better when Tiger is in contention. I think we can all agree on that. But yeah, Dustin Johnson is one of those dudes that he has his game can play pretty much to every course, and I think he's I think you really have to count him in on every single tournament. Him at least having a chance to win, if not winning it all. And he's also had that monkey on his back for a while. Before he won his first one, that he was the big hitter on tour, the big man on campus that has never won a tournament. So now that I think the more that he wins, the better he's going to be, and it's going to be scary. Because like I said, his swing I think can play on any course, and ladies and gentlemen, we usually have our senior golf analyst, Mr. Jacob Berg, on the show with us for the Masters, but just so happens that this Masters is also opening day of deer season, and Mr. Berg is hiding from deers, as Miss Chelsea Kaler would point out. So he was not able to join us today, but big shout out to you, Jake. I hope you bag a big one, and yes, I mean a deer, not anything else. But yeah, the top five was Dustin Johnson at 20 under. Cameron Smith was at 15 under. I know that there was a lot of people talking about him and the run that he was on. So kudos to him, because to be quite frank, I'd never heard of him. Sunjay Eam at 15 under. Justin Thomas was another dude that I was keeping an eye on. I follow him on Snapchat, and the dude's fucking crazy, and I love it. He was 12 under. Dylan Fratelli at 11 under, and then Rory was also 11 under. And Thursday and Friday, Rory did not have the best start to the tournament, so I think if he would have got off to a better start, we might have saw him contend with DJ a little bit more, but it is what it is. And overall, I think the PGA got it right as far as the COVID is concerned and making the decision to move this to November instead of just putting the kibosh on everything. So kudos to you, PGA. And there's always there was talk even for next year's Masters. Obviously, they're going to try to put it back in April, and they were talking about whether there would be fans allowed or not. And it's like, guys, just let's pump the fucking brakes. I know you as a organization, you're probably trying to get everything as planned out as possible, but in the conditions of what we're in right now, I don't think you can plan more than 2 weeks ahead for anything. I'm not even talking about sports. I'm talking about life in general. Things can change in the matter of 24 hours. So I think it's kind of pointless and wasting time to try to make plans that far in advance. Like I said, for anything. So 2K, is there anything else you want to throw into the Masters recap? I know I almost decided to not do the Masters recap, but I really love this fucking thumbnail that I'm showing right now, so I'm very proud of it. And I think I showed it to you last night, but yeah, I was like, I'm really proud of it. I want to use it. So But is there anything else that you want to add to the Masters recap, so we can move on to the
As
next
far
subject?
as far as the tournament itself, no. But going to the par three competition where John Rahm did the skip shot.
That was fucking
hole in one.
badass.
That was fucking badass. I think that deserves a shout out. That was fucking badass.
I don't know who I was talking to about that, but it was reminiscent of something Jim Cripe would do drunk. Am I wrong?
No, not at all.
And he wouldn't do it on purpose at all. But afterwards, he would claim it was completely on purpose. and for those of you listening that don't know Mr. Jim Cripe, I had friend of all of ours. I'm not sure if he listens to the show or not, but it was a tournament a few years ago out at Pineview in Three Rivers, and Mr. Cripe actually hit me directly in the ass with a drive. So yes, that was not the most fun, but let's just say a couple adult beverages were involved. So, but yes, Criper is always fun to golf with. Just make sure you're not down course from him. Make sure you are behind him, and that's usually the best place. But yeah, Criper, if you are listening, big shout out. Excuse me. Oh, all right, we're back. Hashtag COVID. But yes, I know 2Ks, this is not going to be your favorite subject in the world, but with the way things went down last night, I wanted to get at least part of the show on this so we could be kind of a little ahead of the sports talk world. And yes, we're talking about Jim Harbaugh, University of Michigan. And like I said, 2Ks, I know that this is not going to be your most favorite subject in the world, especially considering all of your favorite teams blow ass right now. And I know your fandom is not in the best state of affairs right now. But like I said, this is going to be a hot button issue on Monday, so I want to make sure to try to get a little bit ahead of it. Now, for those of you that don't know, Michigan is off to a 1-3 start, and they got their doors blown off by a Wisconsin team that had been quarantined for the last 2 weeks. So, and in the YouTube short that I made, I actually picked Michigan to win this game. I figured with all of because there was still starters from Wisconsin, still quarantining, and having 2 weeks off, I figured they'd be rusty, and Michigan would just come out and take control of the game. And for those of you that watched, know that was completely inaccurate. It was the exact opposite. Michigan looked rusty. Michigan looked uninterested. I mean, in all facets of the game, looked disinterested. And this is the third game in a row that it's been like this. And every Michigan fan, even leading up to yesterday, has already been calling for a coaching change. And whether that be, in season or in the off season or insert date here. And 2K, since you are the Michigan man of the podcast, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and then we'll move on from there. Okay. The first question is, and I'm going to preface it this way, and I'm going to take a little bit different approach than or at least I think it's going to be a different approach. Do you cut ties with Harbaugh now, or do you let him hold on, or do you let him finish the season, no matter how bad the season is? And I'm asking this in correlation with recruiting, because I have a feeling that the recruiting class is going to be affected regardless of what happens, whether they fire him in season or they fire him after the season.
Mm-hmm.
And if the further this team spirals downhill, I have a feeling the recruiting class is going to continue to spiral with them. So with that in mind, if you are the AD, do you fire him? Well, do you fire him? Period, or do you fire him at the end of the season, or right now?
I don't think the answer is to fire him right now. I think the answer is to go into the off season, and obviously, obviously after the season, I think it's pretty safe to say he will not be coaching Michigan next year. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. Like, he's been given plenty of time. He hasn't been able to win the big one. He hasn't been able. He's got a losing record against the rivalry, all the rivalry teams. Um, and where we're standing at right now, I think it's safe to say that the program has backtracked from where it was when he first took the job.
Oh, 100%.
So,
100%.
I think it's easy, but I don't think that making the decision, because my thing is, if you make the decision and you get rid of him right now, who do you have to finish off the season? Who's gonna coach him to finish off the season and really change anything? Are we gonna go with with Don Brown, who has probably, I think Don Brown is just as much to blame as Jim Harbaugh is at this point.
Yeah.
I think he is just as much to blame for losing some of the big games, especially if you look at some of the Ohio State games in the past. I think so. Who do you go with? Do you go with the offensive coordinator who they brought in from Alabama, who hasn't done shit really since he's been there? And I think the offense has gotten worse really since he's gotten there. So that's my question is, who do you go with, to finish out the season that's going to do any better? I think, honestly, you ride it out. You try to win as many football games as you can, and you try to save as many of these recruits that you have. And that's really all you can do right now. But then when when the off season does roll around, or even when you just the regular season gets done, and I think you have to make a hire quick. You got to bring in. It's not like the NFL where you can kind of weigh your options and take your time through the process. You have to jump on it as fast as you can, so that way whoever comes in has time to be able to start recruiting their class and the type of players that they want.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Again, for those of you in chat, go ahead and what are your thoughts on the Marcellus, on the on the state of Michigan football and Mr. Harbaugh's seat? Because I have a feeling his seat, he's sitting in a fucking volcano right now. Let's be completely honest. I don't think there's ever been a coach on a hotter seat that I've seen in my whole life. And as an outsider looking in, because obviously I'm not a Michigan fan, but it's weird to me that it was kind of brought in that Harbaugh was kind of this quarterback whisperer, and he can coach quarterbacks, and well, he hasn't done that at all. I mean, there hasn't been one quarterback really under him that's been other than mediocre at times. And going into the season, we were high on this quarterback. Both of us were high on Milton. And I'm gonna take the, and like I said, this is hard because Harbaugh's 48-21, which for any other with a handful of other teams aside, those are great numbers, and great numbers for a Big Ten school. It's just those 21. There's six of them to Ohio State, 5 or 6 of them, or 6 or 7 to Ohio State, 5 or 6 to Michigan State. He's only won one game against those two, and those are the big ones. And do you fire Harbaugh to appease a fan base, and then give the keys to Don Brown or Josh Gaddis? Is that the answer? And is that the answer, knowing that neither one of those guys are going to be back next fall? Because I'm pretty sure that neither one of these guys are going to be the head coach, and the head coach you're going to bring in is going to bring in his own coordinators. So at that point, I mean, would Don Brown or Josh Gaddis even give a shit? You know what I mean? And the big question and the fucking white elephant in the room is, if they do fire Harbaugh, who do you replace him with? Who do you replace him with? Especially when it comes to the Michigan mantra of, we have to have a Michigan guy as our coach, which I think is the stupidest fucking thing in the world.
Right. I mean, that's the first thing right there that has to change. I mean, obviously, the Michigan mentality is not working.
No, it hasn't worked in a long time.
I guess I've never understood that, because ever since I've been alive, Michigan gets this credit, like it's kind of similar to like the Dallas Cowboys of the NFL. They get this credit like they are the team. They are an elite team, and they're far from it, and they have been for years and years. But for some reason, the media, the sports media, jumps on them like they're going to be one of the teams to be every single season, and they fool everybody. And I think that is one of the major reasons why there's so many people that you either love Michigan or you hate Michigan. I think it's so, kind of media driven that the media kind of sets them up to fail. And ever since Harbaugh's taken the job at Michigan, everybody has just kind of jumped on that, the hatred for Michigan and the hatred for Jim Harbaugh. And I think everybody that has nothing to, no ties with Michigan or ever being a Michigan fan, everybody has rooted for him to fail. That's really been everybody that I know has wanted him to fail. And, fortunately for them, they have got their wish. He's failed. He's failed miserably at this job. And it sucks. It really sucks. I mean, being a Michigan fan, going back, 6-7 years ago when he took this job, there was so much excitement that we were finally getting out of the dumpster fire that we were in there for years and years with Rich Rod and Brady Hoke both. And unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, and like I said with Milton, this is one of Harbaugh's recruits. We were all excited to see, the maturity through him and how everything was going to go. And he had a great first game. And then Michigan State comes in and, it was a very uninspired Michigan team. And it's been that same uninspired Michigan team every week since that Michigan State game. And I was reading an article in Sports Illustrated, and he's like, yeah, it seems like when the Michigan players ran out and tapped the banner just sucked all their energy right out of them. And it, especially last night, it looked like it. I mean, it legitimately looked like they, 2 hours before the game, were running laps around the outside of the stadium and then just came in and were exhausted. And it's almost as if, I mean, if you're a player on this Michigan team, you have to feel it that, the Harbaugh era is coming to a close. And as a player, you'd have to think of it one of two ways. Either fold, like everything is, is kind of spiraling out of control, or you take the approach that, Coach Harbaugh's leaving, let's bring him out, or let him walk out on a good note, and at least be into a game. Show some fucking fight, show some resolve, instead of a 48-11 game. I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous. And speaking of the Michigan State game, Michigan State's, I think, scored 7 points in the 2 weeks after that combined. Where would this, for such a high profile coach as Harbaugh is, how much he's paid? One in the NFL, so he knows how to connect with people. Maybe not the college level is where his thing's at. I don't know, but I have never seen a less inspired team, a less inspired, high profile team ever,
Mm-hmm.
ever,
Yep,
ever,
I
ever.
I
And
100% agree, man. You look at kind of to just to have a winning program, and especially in college football, it's about building a culture, and the culture that he's built there in the time that he's been at Michigan has gotten worse every
yeah,
year.
yeah, and
And
it's like,
and it's to the point now where you have a group of players and watching them, especially in the last Indiana game, or after the Michigan State game into the Indiana game, and then last night obviously with the Wisconsin game, you have a group of kids that it's like they don't care. That they are completely okay with being mediocre football team and getting their ass beat, and they don't care. And the fire, and Jim Harbaugh doesn't have any fire. What happened to the Harbaugh that was out down on the sidelines throwing his fucking headset and throwing his play sheet all up and down and chewing the ref's ass over everything, and obviously, and being the thing that everybody that was not a Michigan fan hated, but all the Michigan fans fucking loved watching that passion. And that's the kind of shit that your players, the players that you have on your sideline are watching that, and they're seeing that their coach act that way, and that's the kind of coach that players want to play for. That's the kind of coach that players want to give everything they have for. They don't want to have to give out for the guy that just stands there with his fucking hands in his pockets and doesn't do anything, like he has been for the last 2 years now. That's what happened. I don't know if it was something that was said, if somebody that's a higher up at the University of Michigan said, told Harbaugh that he has to stop saying stuff to the media about officials. He has to stop acting that way on the sidelines. He has to stop. I don't know if something happened. That's the only thing I can think of, because it just, in this past 2 years, Harbaugh has completely changed how he handles himself on the sidelines. He's just straight-laced. He's boring. He doesn't do anything, and that's not what we signed up for. When he took this job, I think all of us Michigan fans, we liked the quirkiness. We liked how kind of out there he was. And for everybody else that wasn't a Michigan fan that hated it, like, our mentality was, fuck that. We don't give a shit. That's how we want him to act. We want him to be throwing his stuff on the sideline. And, that's the shit that fires everybody up. And that's the shit that, builds the culture of winning football. You see Nick Saban, he's throwing shit on the sidelines all the time, getting pissed off and bitching at officials. And you look at your coach, Brian Kelly. How many times has Brian Kelly grabbed one of his quarterbacks by the face mask and just chewed his ass on the sidelines?
Yep.
And you look at Dabo. Dabo's up and down the sidelines more than any coach in college football. If there's anybody that reminds me of what Jim Harbaugh was when he was at Stanford and what he was when he was at San Francisco, it's Dabo Sweeney. But now Jim Harbaugh just stands there with his hands in his pockets and slaps his quarterback on the ass, whether he does something good or whether he does something bad. He's lost the fire, and that's what it's so upsetting to me.
Yeah, speaking of Dabo, he makes me anxious just watching him on the sideline. I mean, that's how intense that he is, but that's his type. That's his personality, and you might have hit on something there, because I really didn't notice it up until now. Is that the tendencies that got Harbaugh to where he's at now aren't there. And like you said, I don't know if it's a booster or the AD or someone that came to him and said, "Yo, we can't be having this on the sideline." And
that's the only thing I can think.
My answer to that would be, "Fuck you, whoever you are. This is who I am, and this is how I coach, and this is my program. You hired me. You obviously had to see me in action at Stanford, at San Francisco, because that's my resume that got me here." And even I'd even say going back to when he was a player, he had that same drive and that same fire, and would yell scream at people.
Mm-hmm.
That's just his mentality, and that could be something behind the scenes that none of us know, and you could be 100% correct, because he looks like a man that has lost his way, is basically what it's come down to. And
yeah, he doesn't even look like he's enjoying himself.
No, not
anymore.
at all. Not at all.
And
no one on that sideline looks like they're having any fun. It looks like they want to fucking be
when
there.
When you're losing, it's not fun, and it's hard to find any positives when you're losing. But goddamn, like you got to show some emotion down there. That's the kind. I mean, every single big time, college football school there's emotion. I mean, how many? You look at the Ohio State teams when they under Urban Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
Urban Meyer used to be raising the roof with the goddamn student section.
Yeah.
In big time situations and big plays, and he was running up and down the sidelines all the time, and just a fiery guy, and that's what that's what players, especially at the college level, that's what players want to play for. That's what these are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. Like you show that kind of emotion, and I promise you, these kids are gonna want to run through a wall for you.
Absolutely.
So when you're flat and you try to and you stand there with your hands in your pocket, where's the fire? You're not gonna give any of these kids fire. They're not professional athletes. These guys are not trained, on how to handle themselves on game day. They're basically, they have to be, taught that. They have to be taught how to act, and it starts with the coach.
And I don't have a schedule in front of me. I'm not sure who Michigan's playing next week, but
Rutgers.
Oh fuck! I mean, I hate to say it, but Michigan loses to Rutgers.
At this point, Rutgers have to be the favorite. I mean, going into next week. In all honesty.
Yeah, I mean they beat a Michigan State team, but yeah, if I was Coach Harbaugh going up to that Rutgers game, I within the first 2 minutes of the game, I'd be screaming at officials so hard that I would get a penalty. Just to do something different, fire some folks up, light some fire under asses. Let's fucking go. And if I like I said, if I were Coach Harbaugh, that's what I would do. And one of the main reasons I would do that is, you know what? Obviously, shit's going downhill. We're not going to contend for anything this year. But I'm not going out like a bitch. I'm not going out like a bitch. And your
job is on the line. Like you.
Yeah.
This is where whether you win out or even if you win out, your job might still be gone. But at least fucking go for it. Like go try to keep your job.
Do not.
Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't want to keep the job. I mean, you can't tell me that there's not going to be NFL teams that are going to be calling his phone. Obviously, they seeing the struggle at Michigan and seeing that Michigan fans are kind of running him out the door. He's still a good coach, and there's a lot of organizations that would be happy to and glad to take him any day.
Oh,
he's better than a lot of the coaches that are standing on the sidelines on these NFL teams.
Patricia, excuse me. Yeah, but no, you can even look at Pete Carroll. He obviously had success in college, has had some major success in the pros, but there's some Nick Saban that his game didn't translate to the NFL, but is doing obviously very, very well in college. But yes, there would be a line of people in Jim Harbaugh's front yard of NFL execs wanting to hire him. I guarantee it. There would also be college teams chomping at the bit to hire him. Just because you have a bad stint with one school, and like I said, he's going through a bad stint right now. He's 48-21.
Mm-hmm.
That is an amazing record. So,
yeah,
and that when you said that the Michigan head coach job kind of parallels the Dallas Cowboys head coach, because you have and you could even throw the coach of Notre Dame on there too. The pressure of winning everything and winning right now, it gets heavier and heavier and heavier every day when you're not winning. And with a Michigan team right now that is not winning, and not only not winning, but not winning even close to winning.
Not even competing.
No.
Not even competing.
And that has to be every day that Harbaugh walks into that fucking office. There's not a monkey, a fucking gorilla on his back every day that is just getting bigger and bigger. And it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. But here's the kicker that I see. I think this is the year that Michigan actually does beat Ohio State. And I'm putting it out there for this reason. it's going to be, I think, a game, obviously, rivalry game, kind of throw out the records. Even though Michigan is where they're at right now and Ohio State is where they're at right now, I think this is the year that they finally knock off Ohio State because no one's expecting it. No one's expecting it. And I think when it comes to that, there's going to be zero pressure on Harbaugh because everyone's going to think he's going to be gone. I mean, they're just going to write it off as a 64-12 score. But wouldn't it be a kick in the dick if maybe Jim Harbaugh could keep Ohio State out of the Final Four on his last game? Either that or he wins and Michigan extends him because he finally beats Ohio State, which is a totally Michigan thing to do. But wouldn't that be a kick in the dick? As if no one expects it. And I mean, in my heart of hearts, do I think it's going to happen? No, I really don't. But it's just it's the perfect storm is building up for something fucked up to happen in that Michigan Ohio State game, to where it's not going to be a blowout. It's not going to be a normal game. Something odd is going to happen in this game because the teams are at complete opposites of what, competitive wise. And I just have a feeling that, a blocked punt or something is going to change the game, and Michigan's going to steal one. I really do. And I'm not saying that just to say it. Like I said, there's a perfect storm brewing right now. All the uncertainty at Michigan, the non-competitiveness at Michigan, and just the dominating. Everyone's already assuming that Ohio State's making that Final Four. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Mark my words on it. Something's going to happen. Chat, what do you think? Do you think there's anything that's weird going to happen in the Michigan-Ohio State game? Let us know. But like I said, call me weird, but there's a storm brewing, and there's something's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm going to call you weird on that one because I just don't see it happening. But I hope you're right. I'll be rooting for it. And if there's any way at all that Harbaugh saves his job, that's the only thing that he can do. I think where we stand right now, I think the only way that he comes back next season is if he wins that game.
Yeah.
And not only wins that game, but he has to also win the rest of the games. He has to get this team in line, and they have to win out from this point on, and make something out of this obvious dumpster fire that we're sitting in right now.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it.
And one thing I will say, talking about just keeping it kind of on Big Ten football and getting tired of bashing on Harbaugh nonstop. But there cannot be anybody in all of Big Ten football that is happier to see Jim Harbaugh fail right now the way that he is than James Franklin, because he's kind of flying under the radar.
100%.
Of another program that is backtracking, and nobody's necessarily talking about him because Michigan obviously has taken the spotlight. But James Franklin is struggling, if maybe even worse than Harbaugh is.
Oh yeah, and then you can take the complete opposite in the undefeated Indiana team. Mm-hmm. Those boys are balling out. I mean,
absolutely.
And I was sad that I had my day at Saturday planned out. Was going to start the day watching Ohio State Maryland, and then flip to my Irish game, and then finish the night with, obviously, the Michigan-Wisconsin game. I really wanted to see Maryland play. I think Maryland would have given Ohio State a very good game. Do I think Maryland would have won? Mm-hmm. No, but I think that with their offense, that's, what was it, Tyla Tagovailoa, Tua's brother? Mm-hmm. That kid's badass. Mm-hmm. That kid's bad fucking ass. And he's got Maryland absolutely balling out. Obviously, with quarantine, that didn't happen. But speaking of Indiana, they've got Ohio State this weekend. I think they're going to give Ohio State a fucking run for their money. So I'm super excited to watch that game.
I agree. I agree with that. I think Ohio State's a better football team. I think Ohio State will probably be the team that goes out on top. But I think Indiana can score with them. Indiana is going to be able to throw some points up on the board, and that's going to be a game. That's going to be a closer game than I think a lot of people think. I'm looking at it right now, and Ohio State's 21.5-point favorite.
Ooh, that high?
That's giving no respect at all to Indiana.
No. If I'm a betting man, give me those points all fucking day.
Absolutely, and I think as the week goes on, I'm sure that those numbers will probably shrink down a little bit. But
yeah,
it's kind of a slap in the face to Indiana, in my opinion.
It is. Fuck yeah. I mean, what? Obviously, the people that make these lines do this for a fucking living. So, but yeah, that seems extremely high for that, and to judge that on, Ohio State hasn't played anybody.
No.
Indiana's played some folks,
mm-hmm.
and been impressive. I mean, is their defense as good as Ohio State? No. But that their quarterback's going to pass probably at least 50 times a game because that's what he did against Michigan. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm regardless of the spread, you know what? Yeah, 20 points. Give me that. Give me those points all day. But I think it's going to be a great game, and for everyone, I believe it's a noon kick. Is that right, Kyle?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching that because I haven't watched any Ohio State football yet. Like I said, I had everything planned out, and stupid COVID. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be glued to the TV for that one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I believe my Irish have North Carolina, and that's the. I'm almost positive it's North Carolina, but the projections have them being a 75% win, and then we have Syracuse and I believe Wake Forest, and then I think the inevitable rematch with Clemson, and hopefully Mr. Lawrence is on the field this time, so we can like you and I talked before, even if we lose, because it's already happening. Yeah, you beat Clemson, but Trevor Lawrence wasn't there,
mm-hmm.
and to be honest with you, I don't think having Lawrence there would have made much of a difference. Who knows? We'll never be able to tell. But DJ balled out. I mean, that kid was absolutely fucking phenomenal. And
mm-hmm.
I think he's more mobile than Trevor Lawrence, and he definitely extended some plays, some very key plays that. And I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is a statue back there by any means, but this DJ kid's a little bit more mobile than he is. So who knows what happened? But hopefully we'll get to the ACC title game and we'll be able to tell what happens. And
absolutely. I mean, that's been one of that game, even with Trevor Lawrence not there on the field, that's probably been the best college football game. I think it's safe to say that's the best college football game we've watched all season long. So,
hands down. Down.
Obviously, I think you would not be a college football fan if you didn't want to see that rematch happen.
No, and even if the Irish would not have come out on top, it still would have been an amazing game. Even as an Irish fan, you can't be jaded just because your team didn't lose or didn't win. Excuse me. But yeah, double overtime game like that. The way everything went down, just an absolute stellar game. I don't know if ESPN still does it, but do you remember the instant classics? To me that would be one of those instant classic games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 2Ks, we're at 55 minutes, and is there anything else you wanna? I know we've kind of ripped the Band-Aid off something that you've been especially as a Michigan fan you didn't want to rip off. Like I said, it's content you probably didn't want to make, so I do thank you for putting up with me, and I'm not doing it just to jab you, but as well as I do, this is going to be the most trending topic, or one of the most trending topics on Monday. So I wanted to get out in front of it so we can our shit will be out there first, and before we do go, we've had a lot of traffic on the old YouTube page there, 2Ks. We've probably had, so I can tell you right here, we've had a lot of views on some shit, and I just want to say thank you to all the viewers out there, and we do appreciate you. We love you all, and keep watching because we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere at all. And yeah, I've been doing some YouTube shorts on the channel. And for those of you that don't know what a YouTube short is, it's kind of YouTube's kind of answer to TikTok, where it's 60-second view or 60-second video or shorter. And the only kick in the dick with this is you actually have to make thumbnails for it. So it's unlike TikTok, so it's a little bit more work. But yeah, we've had probably 150 views on the channel in the last 24 hours. So I want to thank everybody for that. Excuse me. And if you've made it this far, please like, please subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know where you're at. Let me know your views on Jim Harbaugh, the state of Michigan, the state of the Michigan program, not the actual, physical state of Michigan, because we all know the Michigan's beautiful, but what do you think, and who do you think they should hire? I mean, I think that's the white elephant question. Everyone, it's where do you go? Where do you go? Do you go one of the coordinators from Clemson? Do you go, which way do you go? And I think 2Ks and I kind of both brought it up that yes, Michigan does have a lot of history, a lot of heritage, a lot of not customs, but a lot of traditions. That's the word I'm looking for. And being a Michigan man at the helm of that program has been one of the traditions. And I think that, as with a lot of traditions, time moves on. And this is one of those times where it's something you're going to have to move on from. Unless there's unless Tom Brady retires this year and wants to come coach, I really don't. And even to me, that would be a stupid hire. But
I mean, one of my questions is, do they look at the possibility of taking somebody that was at Ohio State and had success at Ohio State? You look at Luke Fickell. Used to be a defensive coordinator under Tressel.
He's got Cincinnati fucking balling.
Yeah,
balling.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be he's going to be a name that obviously you look at, and then obviously, I mean, let's not give up right away on Urban Meyer. Is there a chance that Urban Meyer is interested in that job? I mean, and for everybody that says, well, he was Ohio State guy, Ohio State head coach, there's no way that he goes to Michigan. Well, is that? I don't know. I'm not counting it out. I mean, he's on the record as saying, 6-7 years ago, before taking the Ohio State job, that there was three jobs that he would coach, and that was Ohio State, Michigan, and Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And is that? I mean, you start talking about some of the best college coaches in the world, and obviously it's your goal to have that the best resume, and have what would it say for a coach like Urban Meyer to say that he did what he did at Florida and he won national championships, and he went to Ohio State after Ohio State was kind of coming off of everything that Tressel did, and kind of the backlash that Ohio State was getting as a program, just because of all the the selling memorabilia and all that stuff. And he was able to turn that program around and put them back on on top. Does he take that Michigan job and try to do the same thing there? And I think it's safe to say that if he was able to take the Michigan job and turn them around and make them a championship caliber team, it's hard to argue that that could be maybe the best college football coach of all time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, 2Ks.
And Urban Meyer's kind of that. He's kind of that weird guy, like.
Absolutely.
I would not count him out.
Nope.
Would it shock me if he was interested in the Michigan job? Absolutely. But I wouldn't count it out.
No, I 100% agree with you, and I think it's something that we're just going to have to follow, keep an eye on, and time will tell, my friend. Time will tell. Mm-hmm. Well, and we are past that hour mark, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a wonderful Sunday. Thanks for hanging out with us. And 2Ks, I will holler at you later. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.